as a patient when my first marriage was going wrong. And by coincidence, I got to know him later. And I liked him and I admired him. He seemed to me to know more about the human mind than any man I'd ever met, or woman. And after a time, I said to him, why don't we do a television program together, exploring some of the things that I learned when I was in your group, because I didn't go as an individual patient, I went in a group. But of course, you couldn't get anyone in television interested, because people who run television are not interested in ideas. They're always interested in pictures, you know. I always say, if Jesus Christ appeared back on earth, you know, and they got him on the BBC, the first thing that the producer would say is, yes, but it's just another talking head, you know? So they're not interested in ideas. So eventually we gave up on television and we produced the material in book form.
Talking about Jesus Christ, you are presenting here at the festival your movie, The Life of Brian.
Yeah.
How was the response when it came first?
There was a certain amount of protest.
Yeah.
There were a small number of town councils. You know what I mean? Small,
but it was
local,
not allowed to yes.
Certain municipal bodies would not give it a license to be performed in that town. And so people got in their cars and drove 15 miles up the road and saw it in the next town. That film is not an anti-religion film.
I don't think so either.
No, not at all.
I don't think
but
so.
it is making fun of the way that some people act out their religious beliefs and, to my mind, completely miss the point of what people like Christ and Buddha and Muhammad were actually teaching.
Was there some response from the top, from the Pope?
When we got to America, it was much more serious. I think we were condemned by the Catholic Church, the conservative and the Orthodox Jews, the Lutherans, and the Calvinists, all five. And Eric said that at least we'd done some good because we'd given them something that they could agree on for the first time in 500 years.
Tell me, what part of the process when you are doing a film do you like most?
The writing.
Writing.
It's just about the only part. I love the writing. The writing is difficult, but it has a real sense of achievement. And working with the Pythons was frustrating sometimes when I couldn't agree with what they wanted in the movie, which happened with the last movie, The Meaning of Life, when we put material in that I didn't think was as good or as interesting as some of the material that was voted out. But I did like, fundamentally, I liked the writing. I found it challenging. And also, they were wonderful critics. When you read material out, the way that they would zero in on what was good and what was not good and what needed to be rewritten was the most expert criticism you could get. I only ever met that kind of level of criticism twice after, once with Steve Martin and once with a group of Castle Rock people from that studio. That was good. The filming bit I never enjoyed much because it's so slow. And not only is it so slow, it's very demanding in terms of precision. And then the days are so long. You see, people who want to make movies, everyone thinks now movies are the thing. My fear is people who make movies, they're obsessionals. It's all they want to do. I mean, take Terry Gilliam, you know. He makes these huge movies. Now, what's Terry going to do if he ever has a day off? He's going to kill himself. He has absolutely no idea what to do with a day off. So there are all these obsessionals who are, in the case of directors like Terry, megalomaniacs. They want to control everything, you know, be in charge. You know, it's so great that they're not in the army, but, you know, it's still that cast of mind.
So you never wanted to be a director? Or
No. I remember on the first Python film, after 5 weeks, I was so tired. And then there was the director there who'd been getting in an hour before me and had been leaving an hour and a half later because he'd been watching the rushes of the daily. And I thought, there's no way I can do this.
When Graham Chapman died, it's just hard to think about what was the funeral like, because I guess he wouldn't like to have it very serious.
Oh,
if
I had to speak at the funeral.
Did you?
Yes, and mind you, the great thing about it was that at that point it was only friends. Python, people who'd worked with Python who were friends anyway, and then friends of Graham's, and people who knew Graham. So it was not as though it was a state funeral.
Yeah.
They asked me before I spoke whether they minded me taping it. I really didn't want it taped. It was a private thing, and there's no such thing as privacy now, you know?
Yeah.
Somebody will get a tape and put it out. There's no respect for privacy. There's no understanding of the need for it and how people can be more real a lot of the time in private situations than they can in public situations. People have forgotten that. So I said, well, they can tape it, but if it doesn't work or I don't think it feels right, then they have to scrap the tape, they have to throw it away. And in fact, it worked wonderfully because the audience was exactly right for what everyone was saying, you know. And we got up and we were disrespectful and vulgar and we behaved very badly, exactly as Graham would have wished us to do. And it was rather wonderful in the end because the emotion was flowing and people were crying and then roaring with laughter and then crying again. So instead of all this sort of tight-lipped holding it in, it was all coming out in a very
it's right
healthy,
on the edge.
yeah, but it was very healthy.
Yeah.
It was rather marvelous.
Yeah. I heard you were the first one who used an F word during a funeral speech.
I said I felt
Did you?
I ought. That would be very disappointed if I did not use this situation to be the first person ever to say the F word at a funeral. And then people got up, the next speaker said he wanted to be the second.
Yeah.
Then Eric claimed he wanted to be the third, Barry Crow wanted to be the second. It was a wonderful occasion.
Yeah. What, in your opinion, is the biggest achievement in comedy?
To write and perform and edit a really fine 90-minute movie. I think it's been done about 6 times in history, you know. It's so rare to get a 90-minute movie right. Because there's so many of them around that are funny here and funny there, but are basically uneven. And to make system, some like it, hot, I think you'd have to say.
That's great. Do you think nowadays BBC would let you shoot your Monty Python stuff? No.
No, they have all the pressures on them that all television people do now. Plus, I don't think they're really, how could I put it, they're more marketing people than they are
Care
television
about the quotes.
people.
Everyone cares.
I mean, you won't believe this, but when I started with the BBC, they weren't particularly concerned about the rating. They really wanted to make good shows. Now, they knew that they had to have some very, very popular shows, and they made very good popular shows, but with a lot of the others, well, I don't know what the ratings were for Monty Python. They weren't talked about. It was that the shows were good.
Yeah.
And it's almost unbelievable to think people really used to think like that, whereas now they're just run by marketing people who are under great pressure because the whole thing is so fragmented. There's so many different channels. But I sent a couple of ideas up to the BBC some time ago through a director with whom I'd had a very good experience, and they weren't interested. And I thought, I don't really get it, because it's not as though it's a golden period and they're producing lots of wonderful shows, and there can't be too many people around with my kind of experience and record, but they weren't interested. So I'm going to set up this website and try and operate it like a little baby television station. If I think of a funny idea, I'll write it in the morning, rewrite it, give it to my assistant, Gary, who will put it on the teleprompter, and then Gary will get behind this little $3,000 camera and shoot me. And if I do 2 or 3 takes, we get one we like, then it goes on the website. And people will apparently pay $3, $4 a month for this kind of stuff. And if I write something funny, like I thought of something this morning, I would like to have written it, I will have somewhere to put it, you know? Yeah. And then if my wife misbehaves, you see, then I can offer her for sale on the internet, or raffle her, something like that, you see? Ask for appeals for money to feed the animals on the ranch. You just run it like some little television station.
Does your wife make you laugh?
Yes, she does, and often intentionally.
Do you think it's important for a happy marriage? If people can laugh together?
I think so, don't you? I think it's almost essential.
I think so too. I think so too.
We behave very badly considering how old we are. We walk along and try and push each other into other people. The shows were still alive anyway.
Okay. Mr. Cleese, it was great to have you in this program.
It was great fun chatting.
Thank you
How
so
long have we
much.
been? Should I apologize? I'm sorry.
No, please don't. Please
My
don't.
wife never apologizes for talking too much. Why should I?
Once more, thanks so much.
I'll have to buy some red wine.
All the
That
best.
usually solves our problem.
Thank you. Thank you. Pleasure. Dnes byl naším hostem na plavárně pan John
Oh, he's
Cleese.
talking that language again. Ah,
That's right.
is it a real language, or is it just
It
something
is.
that you say when there are English people around?
No,
So
no,
you
no.
pretend
It's
you have
no.
your own language.
No, it's a
Because you all
pure Czech.
speak English perfectly well.
Well, partly.
No, it's amazing how well
Yeah.
you speak it. All right, do it again and I'll listen. I'll translate.
That's fine. So I will use the same complicated language to say
Right.
the end. Okay.
Right.
Tak, je to klasický rozpad programu.
I've been talking to a boring old fart called John Cleese.
Ano, klasický rozpad programu, nemohlo to dopadnout jinak, protože dnes byl naším hostem
I'm
na
glad to say
plavárně
it's finally at an end.
pan John Cleese.